Welcome back to This is Thailand, the channel where we tell you the stories the brochures leave out, the ones nobody posts on Facebook next to the sunset photos. Today's story belongs to a man named Helmut, 54 years old, from Bottrop in the industrial heart of Germany's Ruhr Valley. For 30 years he was a lineman, one of those men who climb the high-voltage towers you drive past without ever looking at, the ones strung with power lines that could kill you in a heartbeat if you got careless. And Helmut was never careless. Not once. That's the thing you need to understand about him before we start. This is not a story about a fool. This is not some kid who blew his money on Walking Street. This is a careful man, a precise man, a man who checked everything twice his whole life. And that's exactly why what happened to him is going to stick with you. Because Helmut didn't come to Thailand for the bars. He didn't come chasing anything you'd expect. He came for something much quieter, much sadder, and much harder to protect yourself against. What he found here felt real. It felt safe. It felt like the one thing in his life that wasn't a horror story off the internet. We're not going to tell you how it ends. We're not going to tell you what it cost him. That's his to tell, and he tells it better than we ever could. So sit back. Here's Helmut's story, in his own words. I climbed towers for 30 years. 8 kilovolt lines mostly. You know what that means? It means if you make one mistake up there, you don't get a second one. There's no learning from it. You're just gone. So you don't make mistakes. You check the carabiner, then you check it again. You check the line is dead before you touch it, and then you check again, because I was pretty sure is how men die. 30 years I did this. 30 years, and I never had an accident. Not one. I was proud of that. Maybe too proud. But there it is. I'm not a talker. You'll notice this. My English is okay, but I keep it simple. And even in German, I was never, how do you say, the warm one? That was Renate, my wife. She did the feelings for both of us. Birthdays, phone calls to her sister, remembering people's names. All of that. I did the practical things. The money, the house, the car. We fit together like that. 31 years. And then she got sick. Cancer, the slow kind. 3 years of it. Appointments, then chemo. Then the appointments were just about pain and not about fixing anything anymore. And I sat there, a man who fixes things, and there was nothing. Nothing to check. Nothing to tighten. Nothing. You want to know the truth? I would have climbed any tower in the world to save her. I would have gone up in a storm. But there was no tower. There was just a hospital room and me holding a hand that got thinner every week, and I couldn't do one single useful thing about it. She died on a Tuesday morning. I remember it was raining. In the Ruhr Valley, it is always, always raining. I don't know how to explain the after. People say grief and you think of crying. I didn't cry much. It was more like the house went silent and stayed silent. I'd come home and the kitchen still smelled like her coffee, her hand cream, whatever it was. And I'd stand in the doorway and I couldn't go in. Some nights I ate standing up in the hallway because I couldn't walk into that kitchen. The house had 4 bedrooms, 4, for 2 people who never had kids. We always meant to. Anyway, 4 bedrooms and now 1 man rattling around in it like a coin in a tin. So I sold it. My brother told me not to, said wait a year, don't make big decisions when you're grieving. Good advice, probably. I didn't take it. I sold the house in Bottrop, and after everything was paid off, I had about 150,000 euros sitting in the bank. Plus my pension. A lineman's pension in Germany is not bad. Maybe 160 to 100 a month. So I was fine. Money was never the problem. The problem was I didn't know what I was for anymore. That's the only way I can say it. For 30 years, I was for climbing towers. For 31 years, I was for Renati. And now I was 54 and both of those were gone, and I'd sit in my little rented flat. I'd moved into a flat after the house, couldn't afford to rattle around anymore, didn't want to, and I'd look at the wall and think, okay, so what now? And there was no answer. I want to be honest with you because I think there are men watching this who know exactly what I'm talking about. It wasn't that I wanted to die. It's that I couldn't find a reason to particularly want the next morning. You understand the difference? It's worse in some ways. It's just gray, everything gray. And German winters, my God. The dark comes at 4 in the afternoon and it doesn't lift. The wet gets in your bones. I'd worked outside in it my whole life and never minded because I had a reason to be out there. Now I had no reason and the gray just pressed down on me. Then Dieter. Dieter was a colleague. Retired 2 years before me, went to Thailand, to a town called Hua Hin. And he'd send these photos. Him by a pool, big stupid grin, a beer in his hand, sweating in the sunshine. And normally I'd have thought, look at this old fool, showing off. But that winter I looked at one of those photos, him squinting into the sun, palm trees behind him. And I didn't think he was a fool. I thought, it's warm there. It's warm, and nobody there knew Renati, so nobody there would look at me with that face people make. That soft, sorry face. How are you holding up, Helmut? I couldn't stand that face anymore. So I did what I always do. I sat down and I did the numbers. Cost of living in Thailand, I read about it for weeks. Rent, food, the retirement visa. You need 800,000 baht in a Thai bank, about 21,000 euro, or a monthly income, and my pension covered that easily. It all worked. On paper, it all worked perfectly. That's what I told everyone. My brother Dieter. Myself. I said, the numbers make sense. It's cheaper, it's warmer. Why not? Very practical, very Helmut. I didn't tell them the real reason. The real reason was I couldn't face one more winter standing in that hallway, unable to walk into a kitchen that smelled like a dead woman. So, that's how a careful man ends up on a plane to Bangkok at 54 with 150,000 euro and no idea what he's doing. I thought I was too smart to get into trouble. That's usually how it starts, isn't it? The plane came down over Bangkok and the first thing I saw from the window was the water. Everywhere. Little canals, flooded fields, all of it flashing silver in the sun. And power lines. God, the power lines. You come down over the city and there are these poles with 50, 60 cables tangled around them like somebody's headphones at the bottom of a bag. 30 years of doing that work properly and I looked down and thought, whoever did that should be in prison. I'm not joking. My first thought in Thailand was a complaint about the wiring. I laughed at myself. First time I'd laughed in a while, actually. I didn't stay in Bangkok. Too much. The heat hits you when the airport doors open. It's like walking into a bathroom after someone's had a hot shower. That wet heat just wraps around you. And the traffic, the noise, the motorbikes going everywhere. On the pavement even. No, not for me. Dieter was down in Hua Hin, 3 hours south, and he said it was quieter. A proper town. Families, a night market, a long beach. Not Pattaya. He was very clear about that. Helmut, he said, Pattaya will eat a man like you alive. Come to Hua Hin. Nobody bothers you here. So Hua Hin, I'll be honest with you about why that mattered. I'd read things before I came. You do, don't you? You read. Forums, YouTube, all these men telling the same story. The bar girl, the sick buffalo, the house they built that they don't own anymore. And I sat there in my flat in Bottrop reading these and I thought, well, that won't be me because I'm not going to bars. I'm 54. I'm not an idiot. I'm not lonely for that. I told myself I was immune. I want you to hear that because it's important later. I thought being sensible was a wall. It isn't. It's more like a fence you can step over without noticing. Anyway, Hua Hin, I rented a condo just off Soi 88, back from the beach, nothing fancy. About 15,000 baht a month. Call it 380 euro. One bedroom, a little balcony, a pool downstairs I never used. I moved my money into a Thai bank for the retirement visa. The 800,000 baht you have to show, and the rest I left in Germany because I'm not stupid. Sorry, because I thought I wasn't stupid. And then, this is the part one didn't expect. I felt better. Not all at once, but the gray lifted. You wake up and the light is already coming in gold through the blinds. And outside there's a monk walking down the Soi in his orange robe with his bowl, barefoot, and some old lady kneeling on the pavement to give him rice. Temple bells somewhere. Roosters. My God, the roosters. Nobody tells you about the roosters. They start at 4 in the morning and they are not romantic. But it was warm. My knees stopped aching. I'd sit on that little balcony with a coffee at 6 in the morning and feel the heat already coming up off the street, and I'd think, okay, okay, maybe there's a reason to get up. And then I'd feel guilty about it. That was the strange part. Renate was 10 months in the ground, and here I was, feeling the sun on my face and enjoying it. What kind of man enjoys anything that soon? I didn't have an answer for that. I still don't, really. You just carry it. I kept to myself, mostly. Bought a little scooter, a Honda Wave, 40,000 baht secondhand. Learned the roads. I had a routine. I like a routine. Market in the morning, a walk, read my book. One saw Dieter maybe twice a week. We'd have a Leo or two at some German place near the clock tower that did proper bratwurst, and he'd talk and I'd listen, which suited us both. But a man has to eat dinner. And I found this place. It was a little Thai restaurant, family run, 2 streets from my condo. Not a bar. This mattered to me, I told you. No neon, no girls out front calling hello handsome. None of that. Just plastic tables, a fan going, a whiteboard menu, a spirit house out front with a little cup of red Fanta on it for the spirits, fluorescent light buzzing, smell of garlic and fish sauce and charcoal from the grill out the back where they did the moo ping. You know, the little pork skewers, they do them over the coals and the fat would drip and hiss. I went the first time because it was close and cheap. 40 baht for a plate of cow pad, $1. I went back because the food was good. Proper som tom, they'd pound it fresh, and it took the top of my head off, and I loved it. And I kept going because of the woman who ran it. Nong. She ran the place with her younger sister. Nong was 41. I didn't know that yet, but she wasn't young. That's the point. Not one of these 22-year-olds. A woman. Around my own life, if you understand me. She had this way about her. She didn't fuss over me. Didn't call me handsome. When I came in, she'd just nod like, ah, the German again, and bring me a chang without asking, and go back to her cooking. Her English was careful, slow, but she thought about it. And she ran that kitchen like I ran a job. Everything in its place. She'd weigh the older customers, hands together, little bow, respect for the elders, all that. But with me, she was just normal, brisk. Like I was a person and not a farang with a wallet. I don't know how to explain what that did to me. 10 months of people back home going, Helmut, how are you holding up? That soft, sorry voice. And here's this woman who doesn't know Renati existed, doesn't know I'm sad, doesn't care, just puts a beer down and tells me the som tam is too spicy for me, laughing, and takes it back to make it milder without asking. I started going every night, every single night, and I told myself it was the food. It was not the food. It went on like that for weeks. Me at my plastic table, Nong in her kitchen, the fan pushing the hot air around. I'd nurse a chang and pretend to read while I watched her work. And slowly we started talking. Properly talking. She'd sit down at my table when the dinner rush was over, maybe 9 o'clock, with her own plate. She ate standing usually, cooks do, and we'd just talk. Slow. Her English got better the more she relaxed, and my 10 words of Thai made her laugh, which I didn't mind. I liked making her laugh. I hadn't made anyone laugh in a long time. Her full name I couldn't tell you how to spell. Everyone called her Nong. In Thai, I think it means something like little one, younger sibling, but she wasn't little and she wasn't young, 41, so I don't know. Nicknames over here, they don't always mean anything. Half the country's called Nong or Lek or Noi. She told me things in pieces. Divorced years back, from a Thai man, a drinker, she said, and the way she said it told me enough. From Isan originally, up near Kon Kaen, one of those villages where the young people all leave because there's nothing but rice and heat. Came down to Hua Hin with her sister to work. Started the restaurant with borrowed money. Her parents still up in the village. Getting old. Standard story, I know that now. At the time, it just sounded like a woman who'd worked hard her whole life, which, to be fair, she had. And here's the thing I keep coming back to. She never asked me for anything. Not a beer, not a bat, nothing. For weeks. If anything, she undercharged me. I'd try to leave a big tip and she'd push half of it back across the table, cross with me, like I'd insulted her. You have to understand what that did to a man who'd read all those forum horror stories. Every warning I'd absorbed said they come at you fast. They cry about the sick mother in week 1. Nong did the opposite, and I took that as proof. I actually thought, this one's different because she's not asking. I think about that a lot now. That was the cleverest thing, if it was clever at all, and I'm still not sure it was. The not asking. It disarmed me completely. Then came the wiring. One afternoon I came in early before the dinner crowd, and the lights in the place were flickering. That fluorescent flutter, on, off, on, giving everyone a headache. And her sister was up on a stool poking at the fuse box with a butter knife, if you can believe it. A butter knife. My whole body just... No. 30 years. I was up off my chair before I'd thought about it. Stop, I said. Please, stop. You will die. I made her cut the power. Then I looked at it. And honestly, it was a mess. The whole board was farang wired, cowboy wired, junctions taped up, wrong gauge cable, a proper death trap. This is normal here, by the way. You look up at the poles in any Thai town, and it's the same chaos. But I couldn't leave it. I went back to my condo, got my tools. I travel with tools, always have. And I spent 2 hours that afternoon rewiring their fuse board properly. Sweating through my shirt, the grill smoking away beside me, some Thai pop song on the radio, a gecko on the wall watching me. And I was happy. That's the stupid part. 2 hours of proper work, and I was happier than I'd been in a year. My hands knew what to do. There was a right way, and I did it the right way. Nong stood in the doorway, watching me the whole time. And when I finished and flipped it back on, and the lights held steady, no flicker. She didn't thank me all gushing. She just looked at the lights, then looked at me and laughed. This surprised laugh. You like this, she said. You like fixing. I see your face. And she was right. She'd seen it. Nobody had looked at me and actually seen something in a long, long time. She wouldn't let me pay for dinner that night. Wouldn't hear of it. And she sat with me till closing. And when I got up to go, she touched my arm, just for a second, and said, "You good man, Helmut. Not like the others come here. Not like the others." Yeah. I liked hearing that. I want to stop here and be fair to her, because this channel, people watching, they want the villain, they want the scheming bar girl, and Nong wasn't that. I've had a lot of time to think, and I genuinely don't believe she sat there plotting. I think she liked me. I think a solid, quiet man who fixed her fuse box and didn't grope her and turned up every single night. I think that was probably nice for her too. She'd had a drinker. Now here's this German who checks everything twice. But, and this is the whole story really, this but, liking me and needing money from a farang, those two things weren't separate for her. They were the same thing. In her world, they'd always been the same thing. Where she comes from, a man who cares about you is a man who provides. That's not a con. That's just how it is. I didn't understand that yet. I thought affection and money were separate rooms. For her, it was all one room. So when it started, the money, it didn't feel like the horror stories at all. It felt like the natural next thing. It started small. Maybe 6 weeks in, I was there so much, eating every meal, that I said I should pay monthly, like an arrangement, contribute. Because I felt bad, I was practically living in the place. She said no at first. Of course she did. That was the pattern. I insisted. We landed on 20,000 baht a month, about €500, for food and, for her, for us, whatever we were by then. €500. To me, that was nothing. My pension covered it without a blink, and I had the 150,000 sitting there. To her, it was probably more than the restaurant cleared some months, and I felt good handing it over. That's what I can't make people understand. I didn't feel taken. I felt useful. I felt like a man with a purpose again, taking care of someone, That was the first step onto the ladder, and I climbed onto it myself. Nobody pushed me. About 4 months in, she asked me to come up to the village, Isan, to meet the parents. Now, I knew enough by then to understand this was a big thing. You don't get taken to Isan to meet Mama and Papa if you're just the Farang who buys dinner. This was Nong saying something, so I said yes. Of course I said yes. We took the bus up to Kon Kaen, then a Song Thao, then her cousin on a motorbike for the last bit down a red dirt road. 8, 9 hours all told. And the further we got from Hua Hin, the more the Thailand of the postcards fell away. No beach, no Farang, no 7-Eleven on every corner. Just flat rice fields going to the horizon, buffaloes standing in the wet, these little wooden houses up on stilts, dogs everywhere, kids running around with no shoes, a rooster obviously, always a rooster. Her parents' house, I'll be honest, it shook me a little. Wooden up on posts, tin roof, an open bit underneath where the grandmother slept in the heat of the day on a bamboo platform. No proper kitchen, cooking done outside on a charcoal thing, a squat toilet out the back, and a spirit house at the front, freshly painted with the marigold garlands and a bottle of orange Fanta for the spirits. That Fanta, they leave it everywhere. I still don't fully understand it. And they were lovely. That's the thing. The mother took my hands and cried, actually cried, and kept saying things I didn't understand. And Nong translating going, she say thank you, she say you good man, she happy Nong find good man. The father, quiet old fella, leathery from the fields, poured me Hong Thong whiskey with ice and warm water, and we sat and couldn't say a word to each other, and it was somehow fine. They killed a chicken for me. In a place like that, killing a chicken for a guest, that's not nothing. That's a lot. And I felt something I hadn't felt since Renate. I felt like I belonged to a family. After the funeral, it had just been me and my brother, who calls twice a year. And here was this whole warm, noisy crowd of people treating me like I mattered, like I was somebody's. You spend a year being nobody's, and then a whole family cries when they meet you. It does something to you. It got right in. I also saw, plain as day, what my arrival meant to them. The neighbors all came round to look at the Farang. There was I don't know how to say it, a status to it. Their daughter had brought home a European. In that village that lifts the whole family up a notch. I could see the mother enjoying it, showing me off. And I didn't mind. God help me, I liked being wanted, even if part of it was what I represented. I told myself, so what if there's a bit of pride in it? That doesn't make the tears fake. And it didn't. Both were true. That's the whole thing with Thailand, I've learned. Two things are true at once, and you only want to see the one. The money started properly not long after that trip. The mother's diabetes. This was real, by the way. I saw her injecting, saw the state of her feet. This is not an invented sick buffalo. She got bad, went into the hospital in Khon Kaen, and there was a bill. 90,000 baht, about 2,250 euro. Nong didn't ask me. I want to be precise about this because it matters. She told me upset, crying on the phone, and then she said she would sell her gold. Her chains. Thai women keep their savings in gold, around their neck, you see it. She said she'd sell her gold to pay it. And what am I going to do? Sit there and let this woman sell the gold off her own neck while I've got 150,000 euro in the bank? What kind of man does that? So I paid it. 90,000 baht, gone. And I felt, again, good about it. Useful. That word again. I keep coming back to useful. And I remember Dieter, when I told him, he went quiet. And then he said, Helmut, be careful. It never stops at the one bill. And I got annoyed with him, actually annoyed. I said, her mother nearly died, Dieter. This is a real hospital, real diabetes. Don't be so cynical. Not everyone's a scammer. And he just held his hands up. Okay. He'd seen it before, of course. But I didn't want to hear it from him. I decided Nong was the exception. And once you've decided that, every warning just sounds like bitterness. That's the trap. You stop weighing each thing on its own. You've already made up your mind, so everything after just gets waved through. I paid the 90,000 and told myself it was a one-off. Emergency. Fine. But it changed something. Once you've paid the big medical bill, you're in the family's money now. You're the one who handles it when things go wrong. That became my job almost. The niece needed school fees, 8,000 baht. I'd hear about it and I'd give it. The father's motorbike packed in. I bought a new Honda Wave, 48,000 baht. Small things next to the hospital bill, so I stopped even really noticing them. 3,000 baht here, 10 there. It just became normal. It became the water I was swimming in. And here's the part 1,000 not proud of. I liked being that man. In Germany, I was retired, finished, a widower rattling round a flat. Here I was the pillar, the one who fixed things. Not just fuse boxes now, but whole lives. When the family had a problem, they came to Helmut, and Helmut sorted it. Do you know how good that felt after the year I'd had? To be needed like that? That's what they don't tell you. It's not always that you're a fool being drained. Sometimes you're a lonely man being given exactly what he's starving for, and paying for the privilege, and glad to. The wanting to be needed, that's the hook, not the woman. The woman's just where the hook happens to be. Somewhere in there, the 20,000 a month quietly went up to 30,000. I don't even remember agreeing to it. It just became 30,000, about 780 euro. I noticed and I didn't say anything because saying something would have meant admitting I was keeping count. And a man who's keeping count of what he gives his family, well, that's not a good man, is it? That's what I told myself. So I didn't count. And that, the not counting, for a man who counted everything his whole life, checked every carabiner twice, that was the real warning. Not the money. The fact that I'd stopped watching the money. Up on the tower, I never once stopped watching. Down here with her, I closed my eyes and just leaned back into it. The house came up maybe 2 months after that first trip to the village. It wasn't Nong who raised it, not directly. It was over dinner one night, her sister there too, and it came out sort of sideways, the way things always did. The parents' house was falling apart. The tin roof leaked in the rainy season, the wood was going, and the mother was sick now, the diabetes. And it wasn't right. An old sick woman living like that when her daughter had when her daughter had me. Nong didn't say, build them a house. She never said that. What she said was that she was so ashamed, that the neighbors talked, that her cousin's husband, some fellow working in Korea, had built his wife's parents a concrete house with a proper bathroom. And now her mother had to hear about it at the temple on the merit-making days. Everyone knowing the daughter with the rich farang still had her parents in a wooden shack. She was losing face. The whole family was losing face. You have to understand how this works because this is the part farang never get, and I didn't get it either until I was standing in the middle of it. It's not greed exactly. Face, nah, they call it. It's real to them, as real as money. More real. A family that loses face, that's a genuine wound. And here I was, the cause of it in a way, because now the village knew Nong had a European, so the standard was different. My existence had raised the bar and then not met it. You see? I'd created the problem just by being there. So no one asked me for a house. It was simply that a good man, a man who loved this woman, a serious man, he would obviously want to fix this. It would be shameful for him not to want to. And I did want to. That's the thing I have to be honest about. Nobody had a gun to my head. I wanted to be the man who built the house. The number was 1.1 million baht, around 27,500 euro. I sat with that number for a few days. This was different from a hospital bill. This was real money. Nearly a fifth of everything I had. Even a fool stops and thinks at 27,500 euro. And I did think. I did the maths. I looked at my accounts. And here's how I talked myself into it. And I want other men to hear this because it's exactly how it goes. I told myself it wasn't spending, it was building. A house is a real thing. It doesn't disappear like bar money. It'll be there in 30 years. I'm building a future, our future, because obviously one day Nong and I would live near her family, and this would be, in a way, our house too. I actually said that to Dieter. It's an investment in the family. And Dieter, God love him, he didn't even argue this time. He just looked at me over his Leo and said, Helmut, whose name is the land in? And I didn't have an answer. Because I hadn't asked. I hadn't asked. Me. The man who checks the line is dead 3 times before he touches it. I was about to put 27,500 euro of concrete onto a piece of land, and I had not asked one single question about who owned the ground. So I asked. And Nong told me, quite openly, no dodging. The land was her father's, and by Thai law it had to stay Thai. A foreigner can't own land here. That's just the law. Everyone knows this. Which is true. It is the law. And she said it so plainly, so reasonably, that it made me feel stupid for even asking. Like I'd insulted her family by implying, what, that they'd cheat me? Over their own parents' house? And so I let it go. The land was her father's. The house I was paying for would sit on land I would never, ever own or have any claim to. And I knew that, clearly, in writing almost, and I paid anyway. Because by then, stopping felt worse than paying. That's what people don't understand. I was already in. To pull back now, to say no, would have meant admitting the whole thing might be a mistake, and I could not admit that. I'd rebuilt my entire life around this woman and this family. Saying no to the house was saying no to all of it. So the money went up in stages. Foundations first, I paid for that, then the block work, then the roof. And I have to tell you, those months watching that house go up, I was happy, properly happy. I'd go up to the village and stand there in the heat with a bottle of water, watching the local lads laying block. And I couldn't help myself. I'd get up there and check their work. Their wiring especially. I did the whole electrical fit out myself, wouldn't let them near it. Proper German wiring in a concrete house in the middle of Isan. The family thought I was mad, this old farang up a ladder in 40-degree heat-running cable. But I was useful. I was building something. My hands knew what to do. That house is probably the best wired building in the whole province. I'll give myself that at least. And then, with the house nearly done, the conversation turned. Gently, always gently, to the future, to making it proper. Nong started talking about sin sod, the dowry, the bride price, that if we were to marry and her family had now, accepted me, taken me in as a son, then there was the matter of doing things correctly, with respect, in front of everyone. A sin sod that didn't embarrass them. And separately, this came from the sister, mostly, the idea that I should buy properly into the restaurant, make it ours, expand it. Another 700,000 baht, about 17,700 euro, for the sin sod and the business together. And I said yes to that too, in principle. God help me, I said yes. By this point, I'd stopped adding it up. That's the truth. Somewhere past the house, I'd just stopped counting. If you'd sat me down and made me total it, I'd have got a number north of 55,000 euro. But I didn't total it, because I didn't want to see it. There was one night, though, I remember it. We were up at the village, the new house nearly finished, everyone happy, the father pouring the hong thong, and I went out to the truck to get something. And I stood in the dark for a minute, crickets going, that thick, warm Isan night, temple lights way off across the fields. And a thought came to me, cold and clear. The old tower voice, the voice that used to say, check the carabiner. And it said, Helmet. You don't actually know this woman. You know what she has told you. I stood there maybe 30 seconds with that. Then I heard them laughing inside and the mother calling my name. Helmet! Helmet! Magan cow! Come and eat. And I pushed it down and went back in. I think about those 30 seconds more than anything else in this whole story. The thing that finally cracked it open wasn't clever detective work. It wasn't a private investigator or her phone left unlocked. It was just a family argument in a language I barely speak, and I happened to be standing in the wrong doorway at the right time. This was maybe 3-4 weeks after the house was finished. We were up at the village. There'd been drinking, the father and his hong thong, some cousins, a bit of a celebration for the house. And late on, out the back near the new bathroom I'd wired, Nong and her sister got into it. Proper Isan row, fast and loud, the kind where they forget the farang is even there because the farang never understands anyway. And mostly I didn't understand. It was too fast, too much dialect. But I caught words. I'd been learning slowly, more than they realized. That was one thing about me, I listened. And the sister, furious about something, through a name I didn't know, and then a phrase I did. Song look. 2 children in Kunkain, and a word I knew far too well by then because I had heard it about her mother 100 times. Song Ngoan. Send money. Nong went white, not angry white, caught white. I knew that face. I'd never seen it on her before, but I knew it. Later in the truck, in the dark, I asked her, plainly, who is in Con Kane? Who are the 2 children? And she didn't deny it. That's the thing, she didn't even try. She just went very quiet, looked out the window, and then told me. The ex-husband, the drinker, he was dead a few years now. And he had 2 children from before, from another woman. And Nong, because that's what you do, because they were her husband's children, and now they had nobody, had been sending money to them all along. School, food, every month, for years. Right through the whole time she'd known me. There was a whole life running alongside the one she showed me. Not a boyfriend. I want to be fair. It wasn't another man. It wasn't that. But an entire ongoing obligation. A whole channel the money ran down that I never knew existed. Some of what I'd been giving her, the monthly money, it wasn't going where I thought. It was going north to 2 kids in Khon Kaen who weren't even hers by blood. And I was angry. Of course I was angry. But, and this is the part one had a long time to sit with, I wasn't angry at what you'd think. I wasn't angry that she helped those children. What decent person would be? I was angry that she never told me. That in 2 years, she'd never once trusted me with it. And when I said that to her, she turned and looked at me, and she wasn't crying. She was angry back, and she said, I'll never forget it. She said, you never ask me, Helmut. You never ask about my life. You only ask about the money. And that, God, that landed. Because it was true. It was true. I'd spent 2 years being the fixer, the wallet, the man who solved problems. And I had never once sat down and asked this woman about her actual life, her ex, her past, what she carried. I'd assumed, I'd built a whole picture from what she showed me, and never once checked whether the picture was complete. Me, the man who checks everything twice. She wasn't wrong. That was the terrible thing. In her mind, she hadn't lied to me at all. You don't announce your dead husband's children to a new man. It's private. It's shameful, maybe. It's krengjai. You don't burden people. And a man who loved her properly would have asked, would have known, would have made room for it. She genuinely believed she'd done nothing wrong. And by her own lights, she hadn't. We were both right. That's the thing nobody tells you about how these end. Sometimes there's no villain. Sometimes it's just 2 people from 2 different worlds who each behaved completely correctly according to their own rules, and the rules didn't match. And a lot of money in 2 years fell into the gap between them. I did the sums that night, finally, in a cheap hotel in Khon Kaen, because I couldn't stay in that house. I sat on the bed with a Leo going warm beside me in a notebook, and I added it all up properly, the way I should have added it up all along. The monthly money over 2 years, the mother's hospital, the motorbike, the school fees, the bits and pieces, the house, the whole 1.1 million. The gold I'd bought her at Songkran, all of it, round about 55,000 euro, a little more. And here's the part that really finished me. The house, the 27,500 euro house I'd wired with my own hands. It sat on her father's land. Her father's name, Thai law, a foreigner can't own the land, and I'd known that. I'd been told that plainly and paid anyway. So I owned nothing. Not the house, not the land under it, nothing. If Nong and I ended, and we were ending, I could feel it, I walked away with a bag of clothes and some tools. 2 years and 55,000 euro, and my name was on precisely nothing. The restaurant money, the Sinsod money, thank God, that hadn't gone yet. We'd agreed it in principle, but I hadn't transferred it. That 17,500 euro was still mine. Some cold, careful part of me, the tower voice, had dragged its feet on that one final payment, and that foot dragging saved me the last of it. Small mercy, but a real one. I didn't scream at her. That's not me. I'm not built for scenes. I packed my bag the next morning, and she stood in the doorway of that beautiful concrete house with the best wiring in the province, and she didn't stop me. That's how I knew for sure. She didn't stop me. She just watched me put my bag in the truck, and she looked sad, genuinely sad, and also, I could see it, a little bit relieved, because when the money stops, the whole shape of the thing changes, and we both knew it. I drove to the bus station in Khon Kaen with the aircon roaring and the flat brown fields going past and the power lines. Always the power lines, sagging between their poles, badly strung, nobody checking them. I went back to Hua Hin first. Had to. My things were there. The condo lease. My life such as it was. And I'll tell you, walking back into that empty condo off Soi 88, that was the low point. Not the village. Here. Because the condo still had her things in it. A spare toothbrush, her flip-flops by the door, a jar of the nom prick she made because she said mine from the shop was rubbish. And I stood there in the doorway and couldn't go in. Same as Batrap. Same exact feeling. A kitchen that smelled like a woman who wasn't coming back. I'd flown 6,000 miles and landed in precisely the same doorway. That's when I laughed, actually. Not a happy laugh. But you have to, don't you? 56 years old by then, stood frozen in a doorway in Thailand over a jar of chili paste. If you can't laugh at that, you're finished. I didn't go on a bender. Some men do. I understand why. They go to Soi Bocao and pour it into the bottom of a Leo tower for 6 months. That's not me. I'm German. I made a list instead. Sat at the little table on the balcony with a coffee and a notebook, and I made a list of what was true in order, the way you'd write up a fault report after an accident on the line. What failed, why it failed, what you do different next time. What did I lose? Let me be exact, because vague numbers are how the lie starts. And I'd had enough of lies, including my own. Money, about 55,000 euro, gone, not coming back. The house I can't own, the monthly money, the hospital, the gold, the odds and ends. Gone. And I hold on to this, I still had roughly 95,000 euro left, and my pension untouched. I was not wiped out. The careful part of me, the part that dragged its feet on that last 17,500 for the Sinsod and the restaurant, that part saved me. If I'd been 6 months slower waking up, or if I'd signed that last payment, it'd be a different story, I'm telling you. So, bruised, not broken. There's men who've lost the lot. I wasn't one of them by the width of one delayed bank transfer. Time, 2 years, 54 to 56. You don't get those back either, and at my age, you feel them. Dignity, plenty. It's a stupid thing for a grown man, a careful man, to have done, and I know how it sounds. I've made my peace with sounding like a fool, and relationships back home, that one hurt in a quiet way. My brother, who told me to wait a year before selling the house, who I got short with when he said to be careful, I had to ring him and more or less say, you were right on all of it. He didn't gloat. He's not like that. He just said, come for Christmas, Helmut. First Christmas I'd wanted to go home for in years. Now, where am I now? I'm still here. That surprises people. After all that, I'm still in Thailand. Because here's the thing I worked out on that balcony. Thailand didn't do this to me. The weather didn't lie to me. The country was exactly what it said it was. I did this to me. Me and my grief and my great big need to be needed by somebody. You can't run from that. It gets on the plane with you. I moved down the coast a bit. Different town, fresh start, smaller condo. I do the 90-day reporting. I keep my 800,000 in the bank for the retirement visa. I mind my own business. I fix things. Word got round the expat community that the German rewires anything for a beer and the cost of parts. And that keeps me busy and useful in a way that doesn't cost me 55,000 euro. And I'll tell you this because it's the honest end of it. I'm seeing someone, slowly, a widow Thai, my sort of age, lost her husband like I lost Renati. We understand each other in that. And it's different this time, and I'll tell you exactly how different, because that's the only useful part of this whole story. I ask questions, from the start, all of them, the rude ones. Who's in your family? Who do you support? Who did you support before me? What do you owe? Who lives with you? Show me. I sat down with her like it was a job interview, and I did not once pretend it was unromantic to ask. Because the not asking, the being too polite, too grateful, too desperate to spoil the dream, that was the whole cost. 55,000 euro of not asking. I don't send monthly money, we split things. If I help her family one day, it'll be a decision I make with my eyes open and my name on something. Not a slow drift I wake up inside of 2 years later. So, what do I want you to take from this? Whoever you are, sitting wherever you're sitting watching this, it's not Thai women are scammers. That's rubbish, and it's lazy, and it's not my story. Nong wasn't a scammer. I think she cared for me, in her way, right to the end. She also took a great deal of my money and never once told me the truth about where half of it went. Both of those are true at the same time. And if you can't hold two true things at once, Thailand will eat you alive. Because this whole country runs on two things at once. It's this. The love can be real and the obligation can be endless at the same time. And nobody's lying to you. And you can still lose everything. Because it never stops. Not because she's evil. Because it's not designed to stop. It's family, and family has no off switch. And you are, to that family, a resource that arrived from Europe. All of that can be affectionate and true and still bleed you white if you don't set the line yourself. Nobody sets it for you. They won't. Why would they? 30 years I checked the line was dead before I touched it. 3 times, every time. And then I came here, and I grabbed hold of a live one with both hands because I was lonely and it was warm, and somebody finally looked glad to see me. That's the whole story. That's the brutal truth about Thailand, if you want it. The country's honest. It's you that lies to yourself. Check the load before you climb. That's all. That's everything. That was Helmut's story, and you'll notice. There's no villain in it. That's what makes this one sit differently. There's no bar girl cackling over a stolen fortune. No evil mastermind. There's a lonely man who'd lost his wife, and a hard-working woman with a family and obligations of her own, and a gap between two cultures that swallowed 55,000 euro in 2 years. Both of them, by their own rules, behaved like decent people, and it still ended the way it ended. If you're watching this and you're where Helmut was, recently widowed, recently divorced, rattling around a house that's too quiet, hear the Party 500 want you to hear. The problem is rarely that they're lying to you. The problem is that you're so glad to be needed that you stop asking the questions you'd ask about anything else in your life. Support Sin Sod, the house for the parents, the monthly money. A lot of it is real, cultural, genuine, and it still has no bottom to it unless you put one there. Ask the rude questions early. Keep your name on what's yours. Understand what obligation means here before you step into it, not 2 years in a concrete house later. And know the difference between being loved and being needed. Because over here, they can look exactly the same right up until the money stops. Helmut's all right, by the way. Still in Thailand, still fixing people's wiring for a beer, cautiously happy. He got out with most of his savings and a hard-won bit of wisdom, and these days that counts as one of the better endings we tell you about. Thanks for watching. If this one meant something to you, or you know a man who needs to hear it before he gets on that plane, share it with him. Look after yourselves out there. And we'll see you next time on This is Thailand.